It's the Duffin Up Podcast.
All right, Duff Guys and Duff Mamas, we have on a very, very special guest for you this week. This man and I met at the Flamingo Invitational down in Orlando, Florida. We also had a fantastic conversation. If you ever go to our live stream, you will see us just talking for about 5 to 10 minutes about podcasting, and he had no idea that it was recording at the time.
No.
This man comes from the sweet, sweet area of Southeast Louisiana. That's right. That is jazz music you are hearing in the background. That is your mama's gumbo right on the stove. Oh, my goodness. I am so excited to talk to this man. We have on HeyErock, Eric DeSoto, on this week on the Duffin Up Podcast. Eric, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, man. That was a pretty interesting introduction. I appreciate that. Thank you.
I pride myself on, number one, always be the hype man in the group. Always be the hype man. And number two, we do our best with the introductions. Like, that is something. I am not a good golfer, but boy, can I give a good introduction on a golf podcast. So that's all I really care about.
Hey, man, that's really part of the battle. So you halfway there. So.
Exactly. So we will ask our first.
All I'm thinking about is Nancy's gumbo.
Jesus Christ.
Hey,
Tim.
I'm gonna tell you something. Y'all ever come down to Louisiana? I can show y'all a good gumbo. My wife makes a killer gumbo. So all you gotta do is say the word. Come on down. I'll fill your bellies up.
So here is so I know the difference between gumbo and jambalaya, but I do know. Well, I don't really know because I don't know too much about Southeast Louisiana. Okay. I do know, however, that they are two separate dishes, and sometimes people get really, really fired up about which one is better. So, in HeyErock's opinion, gumbo man or jambalaya man?
Well, it's a very interesting question. Number one, it's not jambalaya, it's jambalaya. But yep. I digress.
Yeah. Whoops.
The interesting thing about South Louisiana and Cajuns and the whole culture, everybody down here is very passionate about everything, especially when it comes to food. So you will find a handful of people that swear and be damned by this type of style, and then there's a whole other group over here that will swear and be damned about this type of style. So you kind of have to tread lightly because it's very objective, or subjective, I should say. But what I will tell you, my own personal experience, for me, I am definitely a gumbo man. I love a good gumbo and potato salad. And you probably didn't even know this was a thing, but I put my potato salad in the gumbo. That's a whole other debate down here in South Louisiana. Some people don't do that, which some people actually, they're not from Louisiana, don't know that potato salad goes with gumbo, and it does. But other people, if they did know the potato salad went with the gumbo, they don't realize that it goes in the gumbo. So now I just learned you something. You're welcome.
So for all the listeners back home,
the jaw drop is not the exact reaction that I want, but that was pretty good.
The jaw drop that you just missed, because we do record one person on this. Tim's mouth just kept opening and opening and opening. It was an absolute wild ride on that one. That was I have never seen a person so struck about food in mind. I always thought that gumbo was just rice. So, like, I am impressed that it's potato salad. I'm intrigued. I want you to keep going. Like, I need to hear. We had, we were going to ask other questions, but I think we need to go. How did this come about where you put the potato salad in the gumbo?
Well, that's an interesting question. I'm actually not sure. It's just something that I've always done since I was a little kid. Now, gumbo, this is my take on it. Okay. Gumbo is very hot, and the hotter it is, the better it is. Sometimes it's so hot that you're just going to burn your palate because you just can't wait because it's so good. You smell the aroma from that roux and you just know what you're in for. So you can't wait to get a good gumbo. And then whenever mama says it's ready, then you go and you put a little bit of rice in there first because you don't want to overdo the rice. So you put a little bit of rice in there first, and then you kind of trawl out the bottom of the pot because all of the protein, all the, whether it be andouille, which is like sausage, or chicken, or even if you have seafood, most of it will kind of sit at the bottom. So you don't want to just have a big ladle because it's made in a pot this big, by the way. It's a huge pot. Nobody in South Louisiana knows how to cook small. So it's in a big pot like this. All the protein is sitting at the bottom, and you've got a big old ladle that you're going to have to try to scoop all that out. So you got to troll out the bottom to get as much of that protein that you can. That's got a whole bunch of the juice in it too. And then it fills up your bowl. Well, remember, like I said, it's very hot. So what I like to do is when we make the potato salad, we put it in the refrigerator or the freezer to make it nice and cold. So that way, whenever you pull it out and you take a big scoop of the potato salad and you put it on the side, I take my spoon, take a big old hunk of that potato salad and then swoop that, and we got big fat spoons, by the way, swoop that gumbo and rice out and eat it all together. Lord have mercy. My mouth is watering right now just talking about this. I love food so much.
I can listen to you talk all day.
I don't know how, like, I'm a big man, and like Eric, like you're in shape, like you know, you're pretty built up, and like if I lived where you were, I would be 400 pounds. Like I don't know how you do it, man. Like that just sounds like
I wet it all out in the heat.
I mean, it's kind of like a little running joke. Like I run, I do CrossFit, I do all kind of stuff. And most of the time I just kind of joke saying that I only do this so I can eat like an asshole. Like I just,
man.
Oh, I'm sorry. Am I allowed to say a curse word here?
Oh yeah. You can cuss. You can cuss all day and all night. Don't worry about it. There's an explicit on there for a reason.
Last episode, I said I was gonna fuck the shit out of French toast. So
yes, that is and we still have not cut that yet. I need to cut that up because that may break the internet.
You mentioned French toast. But down here in South Louisiana, our version of French toast is we call pain perdu, which actually translates to lost bread. But it's basically French toast. But back in the day, what we used to do, well, I say we, but back in the day, you know, the Cajun culture is more of a, for lack of better terms, a poorer culture. So when they lived off the land and they were providing for themselves, they didn't let anything go to waste. They didn't want to. Like they kept all of from the rooter to the tutor on the pig, everything was kept, everything was made, everything was eaten. So whenever you would have like grocery stores and they would have lots of bread and stuff like that, if the bread would start to go stale, you couldn't sell it anymore, or you couldn't really sell it, right? And that bread was considered lost. So they would call it lost bread. They would sell it as lost bread, pain perdu, which is the translation, and they would put like a little egg batter and some cinnamon and some sugar and vanilla, or that's the way we do it these days. So you'd have that kind of French toast mix when you put it in there, and then when you put it on the skillet, of course, it's like the greatest breakfast that you could ever have. But pain perdu is what we call it down here.
We did do a Mary fuck kill of French toast, waffles, and pancakes, and every single one of us said we would have a night with the French toast, and we were saying it that way. And then Brian just came in. He's like, "Oh, I'm fucking the shit out of that French toast." And we were like, "Okay."
Very interesting. I've never done fuck, marry, kill with food before, but hey.
Well, we may have to do it now with, you know, gumbo, jambalaya, and pan. I'm not even gonna try. Eric, there are gonna be multiple words that you say on this podcast tonight that I'm just gonna be like, nope, like not even gonna try on that side.
So that would be an interesting one. So let's see. It would have to be something savory. We couldn't include pain perdu because that's more of a breakfast and it's super sweet. So if you have gumbo and jambalaya, that's a really good contrast. But another huge New Orleans food would be something like red beans and rice. That's a huge New Orleans food, not necessarily Cajun, but it's New Orleans. And other than that, it'd have to be seafood, whether it be some kind of fish or maybe even boiled crawfish.
I want to do a crawfish boil so bad. That's my dream. I gotta get down there, like an LSU tailgate kind of thing. I want to do that.
Well, like I said, all you got to do is just say the word. Y'all come down here, we'll play some golf. We can eat some gumbo. We can make some crawfish, and I'll fill your bellies up and send you home hurting. I promise.
I will say one of my least favorite TikToks usually is like when you see, like the crock pot TikToks and everything like that, where literally they just put in a pound of cream cheese and then they're like, oh yeah, just like let this cook for 8 hours. And I'm like, no, like that's 3,000 calories just right there. Like I can't do that. But Cajun, or maybe not even Cajun, but crawfish boiled TikTok. Yep. And whenever the guys make the enormous thing of either gumbo or jambalaya, and I'm talking about like they have like the monstrous freaking wooden spoon. Like, I don't know how you guys do that. And it just seems like I mean, does everyone have a family of 20 down there? Like,
well,
like
it's interesting. Again, another part of our culture here is that we're very big on family. And even if you've heard Southern hospitality, I know you've clearly heard that before. It's not just like a Mississippi, Alabama type of deal, like the whole southern part of the country, that hospitality really is such a huge thing where is if I'm doing a crawfish boil and I'm in my front yard and my neighbors that I may not know from down the street pass by and they smell the crawfish and they say something about it, we would literally invite them over and say, hey, look, we got some more if y'all want to come. And they would actually come. And I've talked to other people from different sides of the country around different things like that. And that apparently doesn't happen hardly anywhere else other than down here. So it's not that we always have a family of 20 or more, but we always look for an excuse to cook, to fellowship, to hang out, and we're always eating. So we always have friends, neighbors, cousins, family, moms, brothers and sisters. Everybody's always coming over for a crawfish boil. And it's just the way that we do things around here. I mean, I wouldn't want to change it for the world.
No, that sounds so much better than living in Boston and like running into your neighbor once every 6 months and saying hello. Kind of. Brian,
Yeah,
I know you
kind of.
have the same feeling. It's just like, oh, hi.
Too cold. You gotta get it. Gotta in and out. Well, that's the whole thing is just I mean, that's a whole linguistics course that I never took, but I heard something about it. It's just the Southern draw and the way you speak is much slower and calmer because a lot of it has to do with the weather, which is pretty interesting because it's like you want to stay out, or you're good with staying outside and taking your time and being hospitable. Whereas up here, we're a-holes. We're just like, it gets too cold and we're like, we talk quick because we got to get it out quick, but then get inside where it's warm and we don't want to help anyway. That's why we're all irritable up here. All the Yankees up here, we're just damn irritable. So that's a whole fascinating piece, but it's funny to hearing you talk. And I was a big fan of House of Cards. You just sound like Frank Underwood, honestly. I mean, Kevin Spacey's canceled at this time, but anyway, he was a great character, and you sound just like him when I hear you talk. It's such a funny thing. I mean, we're in the same country, for God's sakes, but it's like you have an accent. It's totally wild. Two totally different worlds.
Yeah, another very interesting fact about accents in this area in South Louisiana, you can literally go about 20 miles either way, east or west of me, and you're going to have people that sound completely different. Like when you're in the New Orleans area, I'm about 20 miles southwest of New Orleans. If you head to New Orleans, people have, believe it or not, more of like a Jersey accent, and we call it a yat, like because they're always saying "way yat," so they get labeled as the yats. But they have more of that Jersey, New York type of accent, which is very interesting. And then the further west towards Texas you go, when you get into Cajun country and all, there's a whole lot more drawl. There's a whole lot more the flat A's where that Cajun accent just gets stronger and stronger and stronger. So it's very funny that me right here on this street will sound one way. You can literally go 2 streets over and the guy sounds different than me. You go 5 miles down the road, they sound different than both of us. So it's like a whole big gumbo pot of just greatness, fantastical.
I mean, like I said before, I could listen to you talk all day, and we haven't even started talking about golf. I can't wait for that as well.
Oh, yeah, we can do all that. No, I'm down. You guys from Boston? Where y'all from?
Yeah.
Yep. So I'm from Attleboro. We're all from kind of around like 20 minutes from each other, but I'm from southeastern Massachusetts, and then Timmy and Brian grew up in Rhode Island, actually. So they grew up about 15 minutes away from us, basically. And then so we're all like in that little I-95 corridor right in there. But yeah, everyone just says Boston because it's so easy. Like it's like people know that. It's kind of like when you're from like Long Island, well, not really Long Islanders, but like when people from like Jersey say they're from New York, or like people from
it's easier. It's
totally DC. Like if you're from like Bethesda, you say you're from DC and stuff like that. It's so much easier. People know where Boston is, so we always just say that.
Yeah, right. That's why I mostly say I'm just very close to New Orleans, because nobody knows anything different. I did kind of listen. I started to listen to one of your other podcasts. Well, I listened to a few of them actually, but I listened to one recently with the Cape Cod guys.
Oh yeah.
And it's funny because I kind of, no offense, I struggled listening to some of it because when y'all all started, oh yeah, well you were from here and we knew this person and then we played at this golf course and I was just like, I have no clue what they're talking about right now.
Yeah.
That just didn't make any sense to me.
I will say that was a very localized podcast because they grew up in the town over from me. So I grew up in a town called Attleboro and they grew up in a town called North Attleboro. So there's a very big rivalry between Attleboro and North. We're not supposed to like each other. And then both of us went to all the guys went to the same high school as me. And then one actually knows my older cousin like really, really well. So it's just like and then I went to school, like their younger sister was the same age as me in high school. And I was like, I knew none of this going into it. So I was just like, we were just like Instagram DMing, talking about it. And they get on and I'm like, I know in my intro, I was like, I had a full intro planned and I was just frazzled. Like I was absolutely frazzled. And yes, I could tell that like, I was like, oh, people might not know what we're talking about in this episode. This may
it was fine. Yeah, it was fine.
But it totally, yeah. I mean, it's such a small, the New England area, the states, New England states up here. It's such a small world because they're obviously so jam packed here. And then put on top of that, the golf community is even tighter too. I mean, this at least some of our first dealings with the Cape Cod golf guys, and they're in our own state, and it's and they're doing big things, and I'm so already excited for next golf season because I don't know if you're familiar with an off season, but we have our off season coming up, and so it's kind of like now we're in this lull where now all our plans are for the springtime now, and I'm so excited for that because just making those connections, and as you've probably seen just over social media, making those connections and those friendships and just all that that you would obviously never, like, we wouldn't be talking to you right now if it weren't for social media. It's just such a strange thing, and we're all brought together because of the great game of golf, the frustrating, annoying, best game on the planet, golf. And it's such a cool thing to be able to do this. And but it just so happened they're from our hometowns, and we're not going to get into it because I know we could put your brain in a pretzel with all our connections.
But it's funny that you mentioned that too, because when I was in Florida for the Flamingo Invitational, I played with a couple of guys. One was from Canada, one was from I want to say the Boston area, I forget, and they were talking about the golf season, and I literally was like, golf season? What are you talking about? And that's what they were saying. It's so cold and everything. Like, man, we don't have nothing like that in Louisiana. I mean, it's December 5th or 6th right now. It's almost 80 degrees, shorts, and you go outside and you start sweating because the humidity is high. So there's no non-golf season.
We were just Brendan and I were just on a TikTok live right before we jumped on here, and we were talking to a woman down in Houston, Jordan. We were talking about frost delays, and she said, "What's a frost delay?" And we
don't get me going. Don't get me going.
Frost delay. And so that's a real thing, is we have frost delays where the ground is too frosty, the dew is too frozen so it sets back all the maintenance crew back like an hour or so. So if you have a tee time at some courses, your tee time's canceled and not rescheduled, or you're waiting an hour or so.
Now, is the frost delay because of like a safety thing, or does it damage the grass?
It damages the grass.
Okay, I thought it might.
So I am a big, and I just do this basically to rile people up, but I am a frost delay. I believe frost delays are conspiracy theory. I do not believe that they're real, even though they 100% are. Like, I am in the birds aren't real category with this, where I know I'm wrong, but like I'm riding with it until the day I die, because I just hate them so much. There have been so many times this year where I wanted to play on like a Friday morning, and it was in like, mid-November, late October, and we get there and it's just, frost delay, can't go off until 9:30. And I'm like, well, I got to be at work by 9. So that was the whole point of coming at 6:37. And it was just, getting into it. It's not fun. And we have a friend who's a greenskeeper who we talk to a lot, and he tags me in everything now about frost delays because he knows how much I hate them.
That's funny.
And might I add, Brendan is a snowbird now. He has a house down in South Carolina in Hilton Head, and so any bit of cold drop temperatures, this man ain't coming out of bed.
I'm like an alligator now. I have cold blood. Like I don't like it one bit. Speaking of dinosaurs that should no longer exist in this world, Eric, besides South Carolina, maybe the second biggest area of alligators are in Louisiana. How much do you hate those things?
Oh man, I love them big lizards. I don't hate those. I
knew he was gonna say that. You can't. Of course, he loves them.
Yeah, man. Look. Here's a cool story. There is on our home golf course. I live a few minutes from a golf course. I've been playing it since I was a kid. On hole 17, there's water right in front of the green, and there is a family of alligators that live there. If matter of fact, if you could go look at my TikTok, I've got probably 5 different little TikTok videos with them in it, because every time I go, I always go and check on it. There's a mama and all the little babies, and they'll have 10 to 15 little babies. And I'm talking, they like this big, just swimming around while she's sitting on the bank. Now that's the ones that you don't want to go sneak up on, because she'll protect her babies. Most of the other ones, if you ever come around them, they'll just jump into the water before you even get close enough to see them, just to avoid you. But yeah, man, they're beautiful creatures. You got to be careful when you're around them and respect them, like always. But no, man, I love alligators.
Oh God, I absolutely despise the dinosaurs. Also, we have a dog, so like every time, it's not. Yeah, so we have to be so careful with it, because they won't go after me. They won't go after the 250-pound plus man. But a 75-pound golden retriever that likes the water. Yep. Yeah, they'll go after him like he is basically a sitting duck for them and a good meal for a couple days. So
yeah, you definitely got to be careful with that.
Trip's gonna be trying to befriend the alligator.
Oh yeah, Trip would be like, "You friend," and the alligator would be like, "Hey buddy, why don't you come in the water real quick?" Just snack on him like crazy. That's why we take him to the beach. The alligators don't like the salt water, thank God. Oh man, but yeah, I was about to say, because like within kind of the Southeast Louisiana culture, I feel like alligators are very prevalent. And then because I guess not really I don't know how to say it. But like, there's the freshwater areas, the brackish water areas, which we have a lot down in South Carolina as well. The one thing you guys do have that we kind of have, but we don't really have, is the crawfish season. And I know, and again, I'm bringing back up TikTok for this reason. The amount of crawfish that I have seen that get eaten, it's amazing. How did it come about? Like, how did just crawfish come about within? Because I feel like it is a Louisiana staple in cuisine that every time you go, I've had them. They're delicious. I didn't think I would like them, and I love them. I didn't eat them right though, because you got to suck the heads apparently, and I didn't want to do that because they look kind of funky. But how did that kind of come about as like a Louisiana delicacy, and how did the whole idea of like a crawfish boil especially come around?
Well, I mean, it's just like I told you earlier, the Cajuns that lived off the land literally lived off the land, so they were fending for themselves. They didn't go to Walmart, grocery store, or Kroger's or anything to go get their stuff. They were harvesting animals, whether it be alligators, fishing, crawfishing, whatever they could. If it moved and it had meat in it, they were going to cook it. And so when they have them all over the place, they're in all the ditches, they're in all the rice fields, they're just everywhere. They're so abundant that it's just easy to get them. You cook them, you boil them, you throw some seasoning in there, and you're good to go. Now, of course, it's transformed into what it is today, where it's this whole grandiose affair, and now it's you're having your family over, and the price of them have gone through the roof, just like everything else. But man, you talk about just the greatest thing, because it's more than just the crawfish. It's more than just the boil. It's all of your family and friends that gathering, because again, you have a huge pot where you cook about, 35 to 70 pounds of crawfish at a time.
Wow.
And just everybody comes over and just, we call it manger, is when they eat. So just have and pass a good time.
Now with that, what are on-course concessions like? Do you just have hot dogs, or do you have anything exotic down there?
Oh, you mean like, so like
halfway house?
No, I mean nothing special. Like, you don't want to eat crawfish and all other stuff because it would get all kind of crazy.
That's true.
And for me, if I'm just making a turn and I need something to snack on, I don't really want to get a huge meal anyway, because I mean, I screw up my swing as it is. I don't need a big heavy belly to get in my way. So no, I'm just making the turn. I usually just carry some beef jerky with me or some snacks. And then after we play, we'll usually have a meal. So it has to be something kind of lighter. If I'm either going to eat a Snickers or a hot dog or something small.
Eric, would you be interested in a taco at the turn?
Absolutely.
Excellent. We got to hit him up because we had our boy Nelson on a couple weeks ago, and boy, he convinced us. Now we just need to find good Mexican food up here in New England, which is kind of hard to find, but we'll get that to a different story. But I am fully on board with switching over from a glizzy to a taco, and I'm ready for it. I am so ready for it that, hopefully sooner or later it comes down. So that is good. We have another convert, gents.
Yeah, that's an
shout out to Nelson. Did you hear that?
Win.
We got one. You got one more in the pack. That's all that matters.
That's an easy win.
The problem is going to be trying to find somebody that's going to offer me a taco at the turn, because I mean, the hot dogs are always there, but
they're always on the rollers.
Yeah, if I had a choice between the hot dog and a taco, I'm definitely going taco.
10 times out of 10. Yeah. Now, I guess switching it back, how often do you play? How many times a week do you play golf? Are you playing a lot? You've been playing a lot lately?
Yeah, I play
off season.
No, definitely not an off season. We typically play at least once. We play every Friday morning, and then we try to play at least once on the weekend, Saturday or Sunday. Now, what's cool is on the golf course by me, on Wednesdays before the time change, when it was still before it got dark so early, every Wednesday we would have a 9-hole scramble. And there's a ton of guys that are members out there. There's, I don't know, maybe 40 or 50 of us that play. And they just kind of put A, B, C, D players together, and we play a 9-hole scramble. It's like, I don't know, $15 a person. And there's a couple other little, like, closest to the hole. And we call it lotto. Well, I'll go ahead and explain it to you. We got time.
Yeah.
So it's a lotto golf course, a golf tournament. So ultimately, 4-man scramble, 9 holes. The low gross wins part of the pot. Okay. Another small piece of that goes to pay out the closest to the hole on 2 par 3s. All right. Not a whole lot of money, but we're doing this because it's a blast. But the kicker is it's called lotto for a reason. If one team has the best score on any one hole, that one hole is considered to be open. So like, let's say if we're all on different teams and my team Eagles number 5, and the only better score besides that is a birdie or a par, then because I had the best score on that one hole, that hole is considered open. So they do that with all the holes, and however many open holes there are, they'll grab a bag full of balls with numbers on them, and they'll pick a ball out of that bag. If they pull number 5, then my team wins the lotto. Now, typically that lotto would be about $400 or $500 to start. And then usually, because it's hard to win, as you can imagine, because number one, you have to have the best score, which doesn't always happen. And if you have the best score, they have to pull that number out of all those holes. So it doesn't typically happen. Sometimes it'll get up to $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, and then somebody will finally win the lotto. So that part's pretty fun. So
wow,
an interesting caveat to our game.
Now, who puts this on? The course, or do you guys organize it?
Yeah, so the course manages it. And if you win, other than the lotto, because the lotto they'll pay cash, but everything else they give you in credits. So it can be like food and beverage credits, because we have a fantastic restaurant inside the course. So a lot of us just hang out there in the evenings, drink a couple beers. We eat at that Wednesday night for lotto because they have great food there. So it works out perfect because we're all members anyway. So now that the times changed, we don't have that on Wednesdays anymore. We've moved that to Sunday, and now one of the other members just runs it. So the only difference is it's on Sunday now. And if you happen to win, they just pay you out in cash instead of it running through the club. So now we're playing every Friday morning. We play the 9-hole scramble on Sundays, which we'll typically go play 9 or 18 holes before that as a little warm up. So to answer your question, that was kind of a long roundabout way, but we play at least once and sometimes 3 or 10. I don't know, but we play a lot. So it makes it easy because the course is only like 5 minutes away from my house. I have my own golf cart, so I'll just get on my cart, drive straight to the course because it's in the back of the neighborhood, play, and then come back in. So even if I can't get 18 in, sometimes I'll get home from work, call my buddy and say, hey, you want to go hit a few balls? I'll go pick him up. We'll go to the course and play. So it's very convenient.
Now, I know we have been asking golf questions already, but I do want to get to the story of how HeyErock decided, you know, as a young little man or as a grown adult, you know what? This game with balls and sticks looks pretty fun. Why don't I give it a try? So how did you get into the golfing world?
Yeah. So when I was growing up, little humble brag, I was the kind of guy that was good at everything. I played all sports. I just did whatever. And I even have a funny saying that I like to mess with all my friends about. I say that I might not be the best at anything, but I'm fucking good at everything. So that's
I love that.
That's like my mantra.
Love that.
Yeah.
Jack of all trades. I like
exactly.
That.
Master of none.
But we don't have to add that part in on that part.
Yeah,
that's
it is what it is. So when I was in high school, my main focus was soccer. I played a lot of soccer, club, high school, just traveling all over the creation. Well, I had a girlfriend at the time, and her dad played golf. Well, I knew nothing about golf, so I used to pick on him about playing golf. Like, just, I don't even know why. I have no idea. I don't even remember the crap that I used to tell him, but I always used to pick on him about playing golf. I'm like, that's just dumb. Who plays golf? That's stupid. And he would always be like, look, just come play with me. Just come play. And I'd always tell him, no, that's dumb. I'm not doing it. Well, fast forward a little bit. Another friend of mine had some golf clubs and asked me to go play one day. So then, I wasn't going to give the dad the satisfaction of me actually going to play golf. So I was like, yeah, I was curious. I played every other sport. Why not go check out golf? So I went go play golf with him. I hit the ball really well, and I hit the ball pretty terrible all at the same time, like typical golf. But I hit it just good enough to where I was like, I could play this game. Now, we all know where that story ends, right? It's just like this madness where you just Duffin it, hitting it all over the creation, and then you hit that one pure shot and it brings you right back. And I was hooked from day one. So it took me a little while for me to actually go and tell my girlfriend's dad that, guess what I did? I played golf and I enjoyed it. But I eventually did. And it has just been history ever since. So yeah, that's my story.
It is. It truly is. And for me, it's almost always, as Brian and Tim know, we play at I play at a course called it's called Pawtucket Country Club up here. My parents are members. And so when I go there, the 18th hole is a huge downhill par 4, a massive downhill par 4. And so you just swing out of your shoes and you're just like, hey, like, let's try and get it within 130 yards, 120 yards. And I swear I will be having the worst day ever. And every time at that 18th, I will get up and I will swing out of my shoes because it's the last hole, and it'll go straight and it'll go far, and I'll get it within 100 yards of the green, and I'll par the hole, and I'll be like, oh, this is good to come back to, now I can't wait to play. It doesn't matter if I shot a 50 on the front 9. Yeah. It's always that one shot and that one hole that's like, I can do this pretty well.
Yeah, exactly. And if you keep at it, maybe one day you can shoot a 46 in a scramble too.
Oh,
somebody saw my videos. Somebody saw. Boy,
well, I mean,
oh boy!
You can't not see them. It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
It's not okay. Good. So because it's not just me. Because everyone. First of all, I got to shout out a couple guys. Walt hit me up with that first video, and he was like, "Dude, you got to react to this too." So
and he's from New Orleans too, I think. By the way,
huh?
I think he's from New Orleans too. By the way,
is he?
I think so. We've kind of communicated through a couple videos. I think he's from New Orleans. I'm not positive. I'm gonna have to reach out to him again, but I think he is.
I mean, he's a lefty gang member, and I saw your lefty
Yep.
swing. So you may, you may become part of the honor, which we do not give out easily. There's a lot of stolen valor in the lefty world.
You're hurting for members. Come on.
We're only 10% of the population. It's like me being a ginger as well. I'm a dying breed. I'm a lefty ginger. I'm as good as I may be the last of my kind going forward. But I made that video just like as a shout out to him. And like the original video was like, hey, what would you do in this situation if you know that this is a blatantly bogus score, like, and you were running a tournament, what would you do? And I gave my thing about like, which by the way, if we ever do have a tournament, we will have those shirts that say, hello, I am a dirty, rotten cheater. And if someone throws in a 44 or anything below 50, that shirt is getting handed out so fast that it doesn't even matter. But I didn't think it was going to blow up like that. And then the response video blew up. Like, I had people telling me like I needed to get a life. Why do I care? It's just stupid golf. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I don't know. Like, if you're gonna, and that's the thing, like, we all know people cheat at those events, like, no matter what, just don't make it so blatantly obvious. I have never
Holy
seen...
shit, Bren. 1.2 mil views on that.
Yeah, we had a good one. Not a lot of likes compared to the watch, but if you outscore a team on a scramble by 7 shots, people are gonna be fishy about it.
Yeah, just kind of.
But yeah, so I made that video. But
so for those listeners who don't know what we're talking about, it's a video of a scramble tournament, and some guy very loudly, almost satirically, yelled out very loudly. He said, "And the winning score, with a score of 46, Team Pup and Sons." I don't know what the team's name is. Whatever. And it pans over to the team, and no offense to this guy, but it's just like a older gentleman, maybe mid-70s. He's a portly fella. And then there's a couple of young kids with him who look like this. They just threw together a bag of golf clubs and said, hey, let's go play. It's almost like they have not played a golf enough to know how to cheat the right way, if that makes sense, where you look at their scorecard and it's like a hole-in-one on a par 4, an albatross, like 8 total eagles or whatever it is. And it's just absolutely incredible. I couldn't get enough. I was just watching it.
The only question I had really was, I wanted a little bit more context, just to kind of be fair. Before we started throwing stones, I've played in a couple of golf tournaments where it's a charity when you can buy mulligans. So you could buy a million of them if you wanted to. I played in one where they would have this big old long string, and every team would get a string, and that was your gimme range. And some of them were like 2 feet, and some of them were like 15 feet. So that would definitely help. One where you could, if you ever made it inside of a bunker, you can actually grab the ball with your hand and throw the ball onto the green, and it didn't count as a stroke. So, I mean, there's lots of very interesting things. So I don't know if this was a charity event or if there were other kind of little quirky rules like that would allow for such a low score, because there were a lot of low scores on that board if you looked at them. So,
yeah, the second place team was a 53. So it's just like, and I will say, like, I have seen 53s at events, and I am always like, you dirty rotten. Like, no matter what, when I see anything over 18 under, I immediately, and I'm just like, you dirty rotten cheaters. There's no way that you birdied every hole and then eagled one. Like, there is no chance that this happened. But
and that's why I'm saying that, because a tournament that had a bunch of those little funny things, we've shot 20 under before. But again, it was not like we had cheats, if you will, but they were legal cheats, So like some of those gimmies and some of the throws that didn't count were, I mean, you were making eagles on holes that you were never supposed to make eagle on, So the 20 counts. That's why I'm saying I'd like to know what the context was in this tournament, because if there weren't a bunch of those rules and these dudes just had a couple of mulligans, I'll call bullshit in a second.
Yeah, I think so. When I was looking through everything, and I tried to like reach out to the guy himself too, and he didn't answer. But from what I found out, it was 2 mulligans a person and then 1 throw a person So at that, I'm like,
that still seems like not a lot.
And 7 strokes ahead of a team who probably also, if we're being honest, mildly cheated. We'll put it that way.
And look, I just thought about something too. I wanted to do a video about this, but I'm just going to go ahead and give it out anyways. Nobody's talking about the guy's name when they announce the 4 names of the winner. I don't think people are recognizing, but the last guy's name, his last name was like Whacking Off.
No
and
way.
I was like, why is nobody talking about this dude's last name Whacking Off? Like,
I didn't even
listen.
The booze is also what gives it away.
Yeah. Why is nobody talking about Mr. Whacking Off? I'm just asking.
Oh man. That's
Wait a minute. Have we not thought about that yet?
No, I'm telling you, no, I've never seen anybody mention anything about it. So I was going to do a video and just say, why are we not talking about Mr. Whacking Off?
Number 1, you should.
Yes, for sure.
Number 2, we may be cutting this and putting that.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. So just wanted to throw that tidbit out there.
Yeah, I never even thought about that. But there were like people looking up their like I just made the video because I was like, I wanted to be like, if you're gonna cheat, don't be this blatantly cheating. But then it came into like you shouldn't really cheat at a charity event anyways. Like if we're being completely honest, like
unless you're sending it back, Robin Hood.
Unless you're doing exactly what you said, Eric. You're buying the string. You're buying buying the whole because I had never played in an event where you can buy a hole-in-one for like $200, but apparently that's a thing. Oh. Like okay.
Eric, what are your thoughts on buying mulligans? Like buying your way to a victory? Like how do you feel about those?
Well, number 1, if they're offering it and you don't buy them, then you're the sucker. You have no opinions in the matter. Like if I shoot way lower than you and you're pissed off about it, that's your bad because I had the same opportunity that you had. Now, if I'm playing in a scramble, most of the scrambles around here, they're all charity type stuff, whether it be for United Way or, that maybe their child had passed away and they have like this memorial tournament. And that's most of the ones that we play in that are all fun. So typically when I sit down and I'm going to play in these tournaments, we already know that we're just playing for fun. We're supporting, we're offering the money, and we're probably not going to win because we're not a bunch of cheaters. Our integrity is a little better than, trying to win $3 worth of first place prizes in a little ditty bag, but that's besides the point. So yeah, I'm all about the mulligans. Like if it's a charity event and they allow you to buy 5 mulligans for $100, I'm buying my whole team mulligans. But it's not about the mulligans. It's not about the win. It's about the greater good and helping the people.
Yeah. Now Tim has a good stance on this whole situation about the buying the mulligans, and I know you were kind of gung ho on it being like that. If you're allowed to buy them, there should be like a limit. Like everybody should get the same amount. There should be a cutoff. Like this is the amount that you can purchase. But because if you coming in here, I mean, Bill Gates coming in here, and I don't know how his golf game is, but he can win the tournament without even picking up the club, so to speak. And with that, and so it's just like, but like you're saying, when you're coming in, you gotta know what the purpose of the whole event is all about, and don't be such a hardo.
And I would stand to change my stance if it were a competitive competition. I think if it were a competitive competition, that completely changes the demeanor, and there shouldn't be mulligans allowed in the first place. Right. I'm just talking strictly charity, where you're not. I mean, some people's pride's too strong; they want to win the whole thing, but it's bigger than just that. It's about raising money and buying mulligans and having a good time. But I see both sides of the coin, but the context really makes the difference.
Now, out of all that, separate from like charity tournaments, what's something along those lines that's like one of your favorite like golf formats? Like one of them is like the string game, where like you can use the string and then you cut off however length that you use for the putt. So if it's like this much of a putt, you can't use that part of the string anymore. like what kind of fun formats have you done like similar to that outside of like a charity tournament, just with your buddies or at your?
Yeah, so I've got a couple, but one of them in particular is always a blast. At my home course, they have what's called the Superintendent's Revenge. And it's where the superintendent, he kind of takes care of the course, and it makes things absolutely preposterous. Typically when you play in some of those charity type scrambles, they'll have a rule that says par is your friend, trying to speed up pace. And that way, if you don't make the birdie putt, just pick up your ball and move on to the next hole. When the Superintendent's Revenge, I want to say it was either triple bogey or quadruple bogey is your friend. I forget, but it was that bad. So like, let's say some of our greens kind of like come off like this, right? They will put the pin on that ridge so that it's almost impossible for you to make it. And if you're on the high side and you kind of go a little bit past it, it's 40 feet off of the green. And every single hole is like that. One of the holes where they put it in the middle of the green, it's in a hole that is barely big enough for the ball to fit in.
Awesome.
Some of them, they'll put like some water hoses around the hole to where you can't get to the hole. So you've got to either chip over it or go around it. We have number 1 and number 10 are side by side by the clubhouse. So you'll tee off from number 1, but you'll play it to number 10's hole, and then vice versa. Number 10 tee, you go to number 1's hole. So it's an absolute blast. So everybody's having a good time, and they got some very, very high scores that actually win those. And I said high, not low scores. Like there's high scores. So that one's a lot of fun for sure.
Oh God,
that seems like an absolute blast. I would love to.
I could see that. Did you ever see the Georgia high school, the women's high school like tournament where they had the hole like basically on top of a hill, like on top of like a hill within the putting green, and they were it was like almost a 4-putt or 5-putt for every single player. I could see that happening in one of those where it's or the flag like basically on the fringe, like all of that stuff. I'm sure those are pretty big.
I've always wanted to play the big hole tournaments where it's just like this kind of like the soccer golf holes where it's just because then you can like hole out from so far away, and I'd like to think that I can. I'm sure now with the hole being so accessible, I probably won't even hit the green now at that point just because of my mental game. But I've always wanted to do something like that. I think that it's always fun to mix it up and just bring in different formats, because at the end of the day, you're still playing golf, but you're just you're not taking it too seriously, and it's just a new way to think and strategy. And I mean, in the case that you're talking about, it's not speeding up pace of play by any means. If anything, it's working the opposite, but it's still fun. You're all getting together, and that's what we do. We're all psychotic.
I'm curious, Eric, with the Southern hospitality things being a little bit slower and lackadaisical, and just you guys just not rushing and doing anything. How is pace of play like a big issue down there? Or is people just kind of like, let's just play it. If it takes 6 hours, it takes 6 hours. What's it like?
No, I don't think so. I mean, everybody's got a little bit of respect for the game. So you're not trying to just chill out all the time. You're actually, trying to move. It's just like a typical course. They don't want to get it all bunched up because they got people behind you. So if we're kind of cutting up one day, and if we're doing a little bit of videoing, or if we're drinking and we're playing some extra games that may take a little bit longer and get people that come up on us, we just let them play through. Because most of the time when we play on Friday mornings, we'll go out there early with knowing that we possibly might be there all day. We might play 18, 19, 27, 36. I don't know how many holes we're playing. So we're not in a big rush, but we're also not going to be assholes out there and hold up play. We'll let people play through. So it's not really a problem. I've never been in a situation where it's been a problem.
Now does the man behind you have his hand on his hips at any point during the round when you look back and you could just tell he's disappointed at your pace of play with the hands on the hips? That's a frequent occurrence up here.
So
that's New England to a T.
You could be zooming through I'm talking about an hour and a half at the turn, and there will still be a guy behind you on the tee with his hands like this, being like, "Are you gonna hit your ball already?" It's like, dude, we just got here.
Yeah. So just I say recently, but maybe about a month ago, maybe a few weeks ago. So there's a bunch of older gentlemen that play early in the morning, and we like to play early in the morning too. So typically we'll either go like right before them or right after them. Now, if you ever seen some of these old men play, it's actually pretty fun to watch. None of them are hitting like 100, they're barely 180, 200 yards, maybe if that, from the drive, but it's straight down the pipe every time. And if there's 4 of them, it's like they're all playing by themselves and their house is on fire. So they got to hurry up and get home. They're the fastest players you've ever seen in your entire life. So they'll drive, they'll get in their carts, they'll haul ass to their ball, they'll go straight to their ball, hit it again. They don't care about nobody else. They hit their ball, they get back in the cart and they drive while the other guy's over there about to hit his. So they are going to play faster than you. So we'll let them play most of the time. Okay, so with that being said, I'm glad that you understand the context of this story where it's about to unfold, because shit's about to get real.
Buckle up.
So we were playing, we had left way before them, and we were playing a scramble. So we weren't doing any other little games. We were playing a scramble. We were just having fun one morning. It was actually a 2-man scramble, so 2v2, because we bet on everything. So we're playing pretty fast, and we're all pretty good players. So it's not like we're spraying the ball all over the place. So we're playing pretty fast. They're nowhere to be seen. We can see them behind us, but they're not like anywhere near us. We come to make the turn. We stop in. We get like a couple of beers. Doesn't take us long. Get back in our cart. Go to number 10. Hit number 10. We kind of had a little shit show. It didn't work out right. Played a little bit slower. So we see them on the tee box. We go into 11. And I hit a ball that's a little bit left, but it's in the higher grass. It should be findable. 99 times out of 100, I'm finding this ball. Well, I was kind of pissed off because at the time I was starting to play like shit. So I was getting a little aggravated. And I'm looking around to where my ball was supposed to be. I saw it land there and it was just nowhere to be found. So I was just elevated angriness. I look back and I see all the old men on the tee. So I know they're going to want us to let them play through because they play 100 miles an hour. But again, I was kind of aggravated. I was like, nope, they'll play through later on. Get through, finish the hole, go to the next hole. We tee off, everything's good. We get to the green. And as we're about to get off the green, I see those guys come back to the tee box. And as they're on the tee box, I see one of the older guys kind of driving up. He's not playing with them, but I know him because he's from the course. He lives on the course. His name's Bill. So old Mr. Bill comes up to us. He was like, hey, Eric. I was like, hey, Mr. Bill, how you doing? Hey, the guys wanted me to ask you if they could play through. And I was like, man, number one, they weren't anywhere near us this whole time. The last 2 holes where I had a meltdown is the only reason that they caught up with us, okay? So I told Mr. Bell, I said, you know what? Not today. And he kind of just looked at me. I said, look, the only reason they caught up with us is because I'm having a little issue, but they're not going to see us the rest of the day. I promise you. They're not playing through today. So he just was like, all right. And he turned around and left. And that burned my ass, boy. I tell you, I got back on the next tee box. I took out my driver. And if I didn't hit that thing 5,000 yards, I mean, I would have shot a 46 had I been finishing the round with that kind of way I was hitting the ball. But they never saw us again the whole rest of the way. We just kept on going. And it was just one of those where it was just bad timing. But yeah, it's a whole roundabout way of saying that the pace of play, but you know, we're here to tell stories anyway. So I got plenty of them. Sorry.
I mean, no, that's I know for a fact sometimes when you get behind, when you're either behind the older gentlemen who are trying to play fast, but sometimes don't play fast, or you're behind the guys and they're like on you the entire time. It's brutal. It's like, oh my God. And they'll never hit into you. But there are some points where like they're taking practice swings next to the ball and they're like lining up their shot. And I'm like, oh shit. Like we gotta go, guys. We gotta go.
Yeah.
But no, but that's hilarious.
I love that you said already it's becoming a thing. You're like, if they weren't behind me, I would have shot a 46. I love that 46 is already the number.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's just gonna be in pop culture now. It would be like, I would have shot a 46.
Hole in one on a 350-yard par 4.
46
and no string. They must have had a dude that just rolled it, like literally like threw it and rolled it in, like just a roll in on that. And then 2 holes later, an albatross. Like it blows my mind that happened.
We got to get them on the pod.
It didn't really happen.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't really happen. You are correct on that side, Brian.
See if you can get in touch with Mr. Wackenoff and have him on the podcast.
We gotta have him on the pod.
I can't wait for that introduction by Brendan for Mr. Wackenoff.
Yeah, you're right.
This man had the absolute audacity to put a 46 down on the card, even though he is clearly a cheat. I mean, like, I would go off. That would be a non-hyping up your friends. That would be an absolute tearing down of an introduction. That would be the opposite of the hype crew right there. Oh man, but that is funny. But Eric, I do know. So one of the things I definitely want to talk about is, like, when we were talking earlier, and when we first met, one of the really big things that stuck with me when we were discussing it is your line of podcasting is therapy.
Yeah.
And that is something that I truly believe here too when we do the Duffin Up podcast. But as I hope all of our listeners know here, Eric has the HeyErock podcast, and the men that I have dubbed the Couillon crew, because of course E-Rock he's got the lovely catchphrase of "Hey Couillon," which we'll get to at the end. Don't worry. We are going to ask we might as well ask what it means now. But
wait, I'm lost.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So again, South Louisiana, strong Cajun culture influence, which is kind of French based. So Cajun French, the word couillon actually means fool. And it's kind of like a term of endearment, where if we were playing golf and you hit one into the woods, I would say, man, what's wrong with you, couillon? So it's kind of that stuff where you pick on your friends. And what happened was, I gotta love stories that start like that, right? So on TikTok, I started doing a whole bunch of things about Louisiana, Cajun culture, hurricanes, like all that fun stuff, and grew quite a bit of a following doing all that. Well, one day somebody says something like, what did you say? You said like, hey, what? And I'm thinking about it, I'm like, what are they talking about? So I went back to watch the video. I was like, oh, I guess I did say that, huh? So then I did a video of what couillon actually meant. And people just kind of loved it. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, I would say it every once in a while, and people were in the comments and they were like, I'm a couillon too. Or, hey, I'm part of the couillon crew. And then people started like just associating themselves with the couillon moniker. And then I started just starting off, like, people would ask questions and I would reply to some of those with videos and stuff. And I would always be like, hey, couillon. And then I would explain what they were asking. And it just became this thing. So then I started like opening all of my videos with, hey, couillon. And it just, like I said, it took off. People were like, man, I got to get a shirt that says, hey, couillon. I got to get a hat that says that. And I was like, why would you want a merch? Like, I don't get it. And then people just kept on and kept on and kept on. And next thing you know, I started making my own shirts, making my own hats. I mean, it just blew up from there because the demand was there. But it was just so organic. It's so funny how it happened that. So yeah, hey, couillon is my thing. And it's just like saying, hey, you big dummy, but not really calling him a dummy, that kind of thing. So that's my hey, couillon story.
I'm trying to think of what it would be up here in like the what we would say. I know when I was in Ireland, it was the C word, which is hilarious that they just call each other that 24/7. But
the C word?
Yeah.
Like
see
as
next
in
Tuesday.
That one?
See you next Tuesday.
Really?
They throw that around like
they throw it around like it's candy, man. They throw it around like that. It's just like a British Isles thing, and then Australians do it a lot. Like they just, oh my God, I've never seen. I mean, Australians are really bad with it. They're just like, you dumb cunt, and I'm like, what?
What? Yeah, I don't know if you should put that on a hat.
No, I feel like that would be a very bad hat. That would be.
Yeah.
That would
but
be
like in like the high Italian American population, especially up here, they always say, "Oh, you stunad," like that kind of thing.
Oh, actually, and this'll hit home, Tim. You know what it is?
Stunad.
It's like us calling you a chooch.
A chooch. Yeah,
yes.
that's right.
We have found the couillon version. Yes.
Okay,
So,
well
like,
now y'all got to learn me something because I don't know what those mean.
Oh, a stenade is like a very Italian word. A stenade, I don't even think that's a good word. Like I think that's just,
it's not a compliment.
It's not a compliment.
What's the direct translation of that? It's three freaking Irish guys here.
Yeah, no, we can't translate that.
It is Italian slang for literally a stupid person.
Okay. Well, it's kind of funny because way back in the day, a couillon was more derogatory than it is, like just if you've heard someone refer to a Cajun as a coon ass. Have you ever heard that term before?
I have never, but that is not polite.
Well, but it's not, I mean, it's not, doesn't have the racist connotation that you may be thinking. But the coon ass is what they used to call the Cajuns back in the day, because they were considered more of a lower form of humans, if you will, because they were poorer, they were living off the land, they didn't have any money. So they were basically calling them worse than a raccoon, because raccoons are pretty prevalent down here. So you were worse than the raccoon, you were the raccoon's ass. So you were a coon ass. And then that kind of just stuck with that culture. And then obviously when you start doing that, then they embraced it. And so there was a whole campaign of where people were calling themselves coon ass, and there were coon ass stickers, and there were all these things on there. They would put these stickers on the back of their trucks, and they would wear shirts and stuff like that. So it's kind of the same thing where a couillon was a fool or a dummy or an idiot of the group when it first kind of started, and then eventually it just morphed more into that term of endearment that we use today.
So does your life and does your brand peak when couillon makes its way into Urban Dictionary? Because I feel like that would be incredible. We have to get it in the Urban Dictionary.
It might already be there.
I don't know.
It might already be there.
It might be. I mean, I can't lay claim to the name couillon because I'm definitely not the creator or the only one that uses it. It just so happens that Hey Couillon is my brand. So
if it ain't broke.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
That's fantastic. And even just like Chooch and with Tim going off a Chooch golf, it's same thing, being like, oh, you're such a Chooch, like just like being like an idiot or like an imbecile kind of thing. And it's funny how he what became Chooch is just his girlfriend would call him Chooch, like just like making fun of him, being like, oh, just doing that, like, oh, why didn't you bring out the trash, you Chooch? And to the point where Tim just named it to him, and she stopped calling him Chooch because she kind of if you can't he kind of owned it. He owned it, and it stopped the bully, his girlfriend, the bully, from calling him the Chooch, which is kind of funny. But
I personally I'm not gonna compare Chooch to Couillon, because Couillon is number one, sounds much cooler, and number two, obviously, but like I feel like our New England version might be Chooch, because that is one of my favorite terms as well. Like calling someone a Chooch is never like exactly what you were saying. Like when you call someone as Chooch, like it's funny, versus like when you're calling someone like a dick or an asshole or something like that. Like,
a couillon is Cajun Chooch.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, yeah.
Sounds good to me.
It's actually hysterical.
I guess
today.
Chooch would be a New England couillon for
a New England. Yeah. Either way, flip it.
I was describing this kid today as, I was like, dude, that kid's such a boner. And my girlfriend goes, did you say he has a boner? And I was just like, yeah, no, that's now it sounds like I'm hitting on him. Like, I'm saying, yeah. So I'm like, I gotta think of another one. I can't just call someone a boner. So yeah,
that's funny. But Eric, I know we started off with this kind of talking about the podcast, so we will go back to the HeyErock podcast.
Yeah.
What made you decide? Because I started up this podcast as like a solo podcast and realized talking into a mic for 20 minutes just about PGA Tour stuff was kind of silly. So we invited our boy Mike, who is still on paternity leave. One day we'll find him. He might be running away from paternity. He may be on the lam right now. We don't know. But we have Mike and Tim kind of joined the pod, and then Brian joined a little bit later. And I know I said it earlier, but your term of podcasting is therapy. So what made you kind of get into this realm of, you know what, we're just going to talk, we're just going to sit down, we're going to talk for as long as we want to, or as short as we want to, and we're just gonna, kind of talk about whatever we want to.
Yeah, health insurance didn't cover it. You got to go seek elsewhere.
Yeah, it's a really good question, and I've got two parts to this story. Number one, I'm a huge fan of podcasts. I love storytelling. I love talking to people. I love hearing stories. So that's just kind of like an easy realm for me to be in. Well, I used to coach CrossFit at River Parish CrossFit, which is right around the corner from here. And me and the owner had talked about, we've got all this information. How do we get this across to our members? We want to tell them about all this stuff, but we don't have time to do it in the class. I don't want to ask them to stay after class. And I was like, man, this might be weird, but why don't we just start a podcast? You and I can just talk about all the information. We can get it out to them and we could share it. Like I'll just start a YouTube or something. We'll just put it out there for everybody to listen to. So we didn't have any good equipment or anything like that. I went to Best Buy, I think, and I bought, you ever seen those little snowballs, the little round microphone?
Oh, yeah.
So I had that. I tried to hook it up to the computer. No compressors, no noise cancelers, no nothing, like just raw. Like you can hear the refrigerator in the background, the compressor cycling off and on. And it was just so god awful and cringy. But it kind of started our way of getting all that stuff, that information across to our members. And they were listening and it was working. Well, scheduling and everything else, it just kind of didn't work and it fell off. So now this was probably, this might have been 7-8 years ago that we started doing that. So I've always wanted to get back into doing it. But once my whole TikTok thing came off again, and we started talking about how do I make the brand bigger? How do I expand this, that, and the other? And one of the things that I just wanted to do was start a podcast again. So I had a bunch of extra money. So I went and I bought a whole setup. I'm like, I'm all in. I'm committing to this thing. So I went, bought some real nice equipment so that we can have good audio. And originally, I thought about doing it as myself. But here's one thing that I'll tell you, and you'll completely appreciate this. Podcasting as a host, or podcasting in general, is a skill. It takes a certain amount of kind of nuance to get the questions, to keep things rolling, to talk to people and have this conversation, ask the right questions. And that part is a challenge, but it's also very fun. Doing it solo is a whole other animal. And that is like the supreme skill. For you to sit there and talk for hours on end by yourself when it's only you, it just ain't working. I've tried it a few times and it's terrible. I'm not good at it. It's tough. Last week, I did my very first actual solo podcast. You actually did a thing the other day, if I'm not mistaken. It was like a thing from Anchor where it kind of talked about your members or whatever, like the year in review thing that Anchor. Didn't you do a TikTok on that?
I did.
I got the same email. And so I did a podcast about it. And what I did was I kind of went back and I built a whole script so that I would know what I was talking about. And I highlighted a bunch of my favorite episodes, some of my higher episodes. I put little sound clips in. It's really cool if you want to go and check it out. Little HeyErock podcast plug. But
please do. I listened to a good amount of it. It was fantastic.
But when I was done, number one, I was very proud of myself because I talked by myself for an hour. And then I wound up texting my buddies who are usually on the podcast with me, because doing it with your friends is way, way better. And so they were asking me, like, how did it go? Well, did you ask yourself the right questions? Like, were you a good host? Were you a good guest? Like, what the hell happened? And I was like, dude, y'all better get back over here because I don't ever want to do that again. So that I definitely appreciate everybody that does podcasts by themselves, because Lord have mercy, that's a skill. But to answer your question, I know I'm rambling again. I like to talk too much, but
you're used to talking by yourself.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm taking over here. But podcasting, I got back into it because it's what I wanted to do, because I enjoyed listening to them and I wanted to do them. So I told all my buddies, I got a few of my friends to come on board, my buddy Corey, and then now my other friend Zach, who we call Young Zachariah. They're typically on my podcast a lot. Unless I have some other guests and they can't come, and then it's just me and a guest. But anyway, it's never me by myself. But what I tell them is, not to sound selfish, but I'm doing this for me. I enjoy it. It's fun for me. It's therapeutic. We're having a great time. I'm getting all this stuff out. And if I have 1 listener, 3 listeners, or 3 million listeners, no offense, but it doesn't matter to me. Like, I would love to have so many people listen to it and share it and be excited about us talking. But if that doesn't happen, man, this is just a fantastic place to be. And I just want to put out more and more podcasts. I wish I could do it every day because it's so much fun for me. So therapy, it's amazing. If we have, like, the day that I told you about the bad day of golf I had, when the old man was trying to, got me all flustered and everything else, we left from the golf course and I was like, we're going to do a podcast at my house. So they all came to my house and we did a podcast about it, and I vented and we joked about it and we laughed about it. And, it's not me. I'm not an asshole. I'm not going to be that guy to say that to that man, but it was just kind of that heat of the moment. So then we can go back and we could talk about it on a podcast, and everything's good in the world because we're just joking and we're laughing, and hopefully somebody will be entertained about it. So that's just really my outlook on it. It's such a fantastic vehicle, and I just absolutely love it.
Well, I mean, I am thoroughly entertained every time I listen to it. I know I listened, the one you told me about with Gary Ellis. I'll tell you what, that was, I mean, amazing. Just hearing a story about kind of a guy growing up in South Louisiana. So being South Louisiana owned and going through like a huge, all of that within the Navy SEALs. It's impressive when you hear, and I feel like, especially when you have local people on. So we were kind of I wouldn't say like a local streak, but we started kind of growing our roots within kind of the New England area again. And like you said, like, it's great. It's great when you're able to do that and you're kind of able to talk about the same things. But at the same time, I can imagine, I was listening to some of that podcast too, and I was like, I have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah. But it's so fascinating, right? And that's what I love about it, is that I never claim to know everything, or, I love to learn new things. I want people to tell me about their experiences. We don't even have to agree on things, but I would love to hear your side of the story. And to me, there's not enough of that going on in the world, by the way. And I won't get on my high horse about that. But if I can be one little piece of the puzzle and get some people's voices out, for them to just speak why they do what they do, why they think what they think and say what they say, to me, that's just fascinating. And you don't have to agree with all of the things that they say, but it's cool to have those kind of people in the world, because it takes people like you and me and everybody down the street to make the world go around. And if I'm going to be a part of that, then hey, so be it.
I love that what you said. I mean, if we were podcasting to try to make money, we'd be in the wrong business. And I like the fact that you said that you and your fellow Kuyans, I guess we could say, and your fellow Kuyans. I mean,
the Kuyan crew and the Kuyan oh wow, that almost came out really bad. The Kuyan crew and the Kuyan classroom in there. Hey, shout out, HeyErock and the Kuyan classroom.
There you go. Yep.
That's right. And
that's just why we're not making money.
Just a couple of guys. Oh my God. A couple of guys in that spending an hour together, talking about a good game. And so, exactly where we're at. We are seeing we are simpatico in that aspect. Golf is a great game. Podcasting's fun. And if you go, speaking of which, if you go back and listen to Brendan's first podcast, it's almost like he's like a seductive late night radio guy. He's like, hello, everybody.
Never listened to those episodes.
I might have to go check that out.
You gotta go to episode number 1. It's hysterical.
Oh my God. They were overproduced. Literally, I would record myself and I would listen back to it. And I was like, I didn't do good on that one. Or I would mess up and I would delete it. And I was recording on Audacity too, which now we record on, now we do Zoom, and then we put it through iMovie, and then we put it through Anchor. But I was just oh, this sounds terrible. I was like, this sounds off. I would listen back and I was like, whatever.
Welcome to the introductory Duffin Up podcast. First of all, I just want to thank everyone that's listening here.
Hate you
if
so
you've
much.
ever been to duffinup.com, I really do appreciate it. It's kind of a pet project of mine, and I've been working on it since
you got that
I really do appreciate
that vocal
it.
fry.
Who are you hiding from right now?
Welcome to the Duffin Up podcast.
yeah.
Gotta love it.
It's gonna be our most listened to podcast now. Look at those numbers; they're gonna go up. It's gonna be
young. Yeah.
And look, I'll tell you, I went back and listened to my first episode when I was doing this last solo one last week I was telling you about. And I took some little snippets from that first one so I can put that in my podcast. And dude, I almost was like, I'm not putting this in because it was so terrible. You know, you grow as an artist or as a podcast host, you learn certain things that you were doing that you're like, oh, that didn't sound that great. And you kind of change it, whether it be conscious or subconscious. But if you go back and listen to the first one versus what you're doing now, I know for me, for sure, it's a totally different thing. Even my TikTok videos, every once in a while, somebody will comment on, I don't even know how they see it. They'll comment from one from like I did 2 years ago. And I'll go back and I was like, what video was that? And I'll click the comment and it'll be that old video. And man, I just didn't have the style and the smoothness that I do now. So it was just kind of choppy and like, how did I even get any followers back then? What the hell happened? Right. But look, I'm never deleting it though, because that's my growth. So if anybody ever goes, I would love to say, hey, look, this is where I used to be. And with a lot of practice, you too can be cool like me. So
a real success story. Yeah, exactly.
In my own mind, right?
I think I ended up doing like 20 episodes by myself. And let me tell you, like afterwards, I was like, and they were very short too. So they were like 15, 20-minute episodes. They were not.
Okay.
I'm very, very happy that I never have to do that again because it was brutal listening back now.
And you guys kind of remind me of me and my crew because you work well together and you can feed off of one another. And, you know, you're kind of on the same wavelength. So if you like Brendan, if you're asking me a question, then they can kind of interject with another question. That's what my boys do. And that's why I like having them on, because sometimes we'll do like little interviews to kind of get to know the guest, and we'll put together a little timeline. But those are my wingmen where they can just, they're not looking at the timeline like I am. So if I don't think about certain questions, they'll just, yeah, but you said this, what about that? And I'm like, damn, that was a good question. So to me, it's just the best way to do it because you have one another and you can flow off of one another. So I totally appreciate what you guys are doing. For sure.
Yeah. The reason I laughed when you said that was, I mean, like before we really started having a lot of guests on, when it was just the Duffin Up guys, Brendan will put together a nice show notes with like on the like a Google sheet, and so it'd be outlined kind of like the steps, kind of like a set list of topics and such. And Mike, our fourth guy, is infamous for not even opening that up and jumping around, and it drove Brendan crazy. Absolutely bananas. Crazy, because like Brendan had this well-produced outlined show, and Mike's just coming in late. His Wi-Fi is freezing, but he's jumping all around, and so Brendan has this structure, but it works. It just, the more people on it, the more brains, points of views, questions coming out, and whether it works and it's not, and it seems to decently be working for us too.
Like you said, growing as a podcast. We are definitely growing as a podcast. It was going through Corn Ferry Tour events and PGA Tour events, and I can't remember the last time we talked about a PGA Tour event.
Well, and they're barely even playing right now. So that's also why. But yeah, I will never forget. And do not quote me that Mike said this, but it was along the lines of, yeah, Rory's cool. Speaking of Europe, what do you guys think about it? And I was legitimately just like, Mike, what are we talking about? Like, I was like, Mike, we're on to the next part here. We got to talk about who's tied for third in this tournament right now with Xander. And he's just like, what do you guys think of Europe? And I was like, oh my God. It would be like that. It would be like,
look how far we've come. Our first 30 minutes, we're talking about
Gumbo.
Oh my God. Yeah. If this was original Duffin Up Boys, it would have been all golf. Yeah, and we barely talked golf. And
Brendan's let his hair down. He's lightened up a little bit.
It's because of people like you, Eric, and
hey, there you go.
You know,
I like
it's
it.
great. It's great.
Well, thanks for welcoming me in with open arms and letting me take over the podcast and talk all about food and not so much golf, right?
Oh, don't worry. Don't you think you're leaving? You're not leaving anytime soon. We got ending questions.
Like I said, the wife didn't give me a bedtime, so I'm good.
And the rapid fire questions, which are not rapid fire.
We have two like actual kind of sort of rapid fire questions, and then 3 questions that are that cause I wouldn't say anger, right? They cause debate. They cause heated debate. And yeah. So and maybe Timbo, why don't we start with our 2 rapid fire questions and then go into our debates?
And this first rapid fire question, I feel like we talk to different people throughout different parts of the country, and we should really, I mean, I'd be interested to see in which part of the country each territory has the specific type of thing. So here's the question right now is, Eric, what kind of grass do they have down there in Louisiana? Up here, we just have long grass, short grass, bent grass. It's just super simple. What kind of grass do you guys have down there?
Oh, man. I play on the green grass that's on the golf course. I don't get into it like that. I don't know.
Exactly.
Bermuda? I don't know. I'm not even sure. I don't even want to lie to you. What's nice is we have a really good superintendent at our course. Way back in the day, it was almost considered like a goat ranch. Like it is not much grass, a lot of dirt, and it just wasn't in the greatest shape. But in the last few years, he's really done wonders with the place. It's really pretty, great fairways. The greens are amazing. But the type of grass, that's just not my jam. I don't even know. So I apologize.
Totally understandable. Totally understandable. All right. Second rapid fire. Do you have any hole-in-ones? Because we definitely do not.
I do not. I've had a couple really, really close calls, but no, I sure don't.
One of us. One of us.
Unfortunately.
Don't worry, you're one of the schmucks that we said. I call them the schmucks. We're not cool enough for the cool kids. We gotta one day we'll get there, but one day we may get there.
Well, I've never even been around and seen one. Have y'all ever even been around to see one?
Nope.
No.
Brian, you want to take this? Yeah, we did see one. We shouted out a couple podcasts ago.
I have never seen one. They have seen one.
Well, we barely saw one.
Barely saw one. We saw it was dark. Someone hit it. His name is Mr. Rose. He hit it into the dark, and it looked like it was going well. We could not find his ball. We get down to the green where we could see better, and we're looking around. Like 2 minutes.
Big believer on you can't find it. Check the cup. Yeah, fingers crossed.
So we're looking all around the green, and then Brian from the middle of the green near the cup goes, "Hey, Mr. Rose, what are you playing?" He's like, "Titleist 3," and Brian's like, "It's in the cup," and it was pretty cool.
Yeah, so that is pretty cool.
I discovered a hole-in-one.
Nice.
So we didn't see it; we discovered it.
That's the closest we've gotten, but
Sherlock Holmes did. All right, so you are stranded on an island, Eric. You're stranded on an island. You don't know how long you're going to be there. Say it's a year, say it's 10 years. You have unlimited golf balls, Pro V1s, TP5Xs. You can only bring
sniper golf.
Odin golf.
Sniper.
Odin golf.
Sorry.
Odin golf. Vices. I love Vices.
Snells.
But
I play Snells.
I love Snells.
Right.
I love MTBX is my jam. That's what I play.
Snells. I've never purchased Snells. I find them, and it's my favorite ball to find because I just love playing them.
Yeah. Have you ever been on YouTube and saw, what is it? My Golf Spy? Have you ever seen that channel? All right. The channel is fantastic. You need to go and check it out. My Golf Spy. What they do is they, non-biased, will test out balls, clubs, putters, tees, all these different things. And they run it through the gamut. I mean, they do all kinds of different things. And some of the outcomes are pretty amazing. And that is why I play the Snell golf ball. One time they did all these golf balls versus the Pro Vs of the world, and they put them all together, and they had like a robot hitting all the balls. So everything was the same. And the Snell outperformed the TP1 in one or two of the things. And it was very, very close on the rest of them. Wow. And for somebody like me, like dispersion was one of the ones that the Snell did okay at, but the TP was better. I mean, the Pro V was better, but Look, my dispersion is not because of my golf ball. My dispersion is because I'm an idiot. So that I wasn't really worried about. So ever since then, I've been buying them because you can buy 2 dozen of them for like $30 a dozen or something like that. I mean, that's a whole lot cheaper than a Pro V.
That's for sure. Pro V's, it's like $4 a ball. So
yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole Dunkin' iced coffee down the drain.
That is true. That is true. Yes, and there is, if you ever make your way up here, Eric, there's a very big difference between Dunkin' anywhere else and Dunkin' in New England. We keep all the coffee for ourselves. It is.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Dunkin' iced coffee in New England tastes like friggin' 4th of July and Christmas combined into one. Dunkin' outside of New England tastes like me.
I don't know if I've ever even had a Dunkin' coffee. Is that offensive? Am I upsetting you?
Not offended.
I mean, to be fair, we have probably said more offensive things on here too.
No.
So.
Brendan can't even pronounce half the words you've said.
I mean, I started out hot with jambalaya and got that one real
yeah, well,
quick.
I just have to take you to the Couillon classroom real quick just to school you a little bit. So,
class is in session.
It sure is.
Oh, the Couillon classroom. I like that.
Yeah.
I might buy some snowballs right now.
Well, they kind of upset me because I always play the yellow Snells, but I guess with all the logistic problems that are around the globe, they can't get yellow for some reason. So they've been out of stock forever. So I haven't been playing them. Now I just play the white ones. That's boring.
I don't know what it is. It's all mental. Obviously, I do not like playing highlighter. So when I find highlighter balls, any color, I just give them to my girlfriend. And that's the thing. I do actually, which is funny. I do have one Snell, a yellow ball that I found that I didn't give to my girlfriend because it was a Snell. So maybe if you send me your address, I'll ship it.
There you go.
It'll probably.
I'll just eventually make it up there. We can all go play together when it's in golf season.
To ship it. It costs more to ship it than it is.
I'll make my way up there to where we can play golf in the golf season. Then you can let me play with that yellow Snell. So it'll be perfect.
I'll have a Dunkin' in one hand and a
Snell
yellow ball in the other.
Oh, I'm in. I'll be checking flights in a little while.
And probably a frost delay,
April to October, baby. April to October. That's all you get. That's all you get up here.
Yeah. Have you been up here, played golf up here, or
no? So I this kind of sucks. So one thing that I noticed when I went to the Invitational is I realized how much I don't travel and play with other people. So I had listened to Tee It High podcast before I went to Florida, and they were talking about the different kinds of people they meet on the course. And one day I was paired with this guy, and the next day I played with these guys and whatever else. And it got me thinking, I never, and I mean almost never, have done that before. Every time I play golf, I've got such a big group of friends that play. I'm always playing with my buddies. And even when we play on the little scrambles at my home course, I basically know everybody there. Now, while I might get paired up with a couple of guys that I don't typically play with, I know who they are. So I never go and like travel around and just pair up with somebody. It just doesn't happen. So that was one thing that I was excited about when I went to the Invitational, was that I don't know anybody here. So every single person that I play with is going to be a new face and a new friend. So I was very excited about that. So I don't really go out and travel too often. And sometimes when I do, like, we'll go take a guys trip every year where we might go into Mississippi. But that's kind of it. We've been to Alabama. We've played in Prattville before. But I've never really like traveled for golf, which is definitely something that I want to do one of these days.
Well, when we finally get it all lined up, we got the Duff Cup. We're trying to
Duff Cup, baby. Duff Cup 2023, maybe 2024.
You'll be on the list.
We don't know yet.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and if I can make it, I'm in.
Beautiful, beautiful. So you have unlimited yellow Snells on this.
Oh yeah, back to that. Sorry, man. Yeah, I'm taking over this thing. Golly.
No, we love it.
No, this is great. I love the way this is turning out. This is hysterical. So you have unlimited yellow Snells on this island, but you can only bring one club. Which club are you bringing?
Ooh. Probably. Like it would have probably my 8-iron.
Okay.
Yeah. Feel pretty comfortable with that. Either that or my pitching wedge, but maybe my 8-iron.
I like it. The comfort club.
Yeah, exactly.
We get short irons a lot for answers. I would say we get a lot of 7s, we get a lot of 8s, pitching wedges here and there, which I consider a pitching wedge a short iron now, anyways, because it's the same loft as the 6 iron, 8 iron was 10 years ago.
Rabbit hole, Brendan.
We can't go down that rabbit hole. We can't go down that rabbit hole, Brendan. When we went down that rabbit hole with Jamie, I'm like, I'm never getting out of this rabbit hole.
I know his cheeks are already turning red.
Yeah, right.
The de-lofting of club. Yeah, the de-lofting of clubs is something that
to change gears is Brendan picked a putter.
I did pick a putter.
Brendan's going to be using.
But you're on a beach. How are you going to putt in the beach?
No, there's a green. There was no.
We got a
there
green
was
there.
no.
Okay.
There was no.
I don't know. This island seems to have everything except for help. I guess a way to get off that island.
Yeah.
Except for an SOS gun, except for like a flare gun or an SOS thing that you can go ahead and try and get people back.
So, next question. I want you to stare into your backyard. I want you to imagine a golf hole being there. This golf hole comes with all the scenery that it comes with. It may be a golf hole that you've played, a golf hole that you play and love, but it also could be a hole that you see on TV in a PGA Tour event or whatnot. You can play this hole over and over in your backyard. Which hole are you making your backyard hole?
Dang. That's a very interesting question. So I have a hole in my head right now, and I'm trying to think of where the hell it is. And because you put me on the spot, I'm not gonna be able to think of what it is. But I want to say it's in Augusta, and is a par. I want to say it's a par 5, but there's it's kind of a little bit dogleg left, and then there's a 13. Big old creek that runs in front of the green.
13.
Okay. Yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
That's so beautiful, isn't it?
It's so beautiful. It's very iconic. It's the first thing that popped in my head when you started to talk about it. So it would have to be that one.
Azalea is the name.
They just put the tees back by 50 yards. If you saw that,
right?
Way back. They made that so long now. I don't know how they're gonna play it this year. It's nuts how far back it is.
No, they were hitting 8 irons into a par 5. So now
that's also true.
And so now they'll be hitting whatever.
Have y'all ever heard of a course called Tour 18? It's in Texas.
Yes, I have. Oh, I want to play that.
Okay, so I've played there, and they've got holes like that there. So Tour 18 is 18 replica holes of the most famous historical holes in golf.
Wow.
And now it's not like in pristine condition, like as if it would be at the actual course, because it's a public course, gets a lot of play. It's always backed up. It's craziness, but I did get to play it one time. I think it's right outside of Houston, or maybe in Houston, I forget, but it's called Tour 18. Very cool place. And what else is cool is every time you get to the hole, there's like a big placard thing that tells you what it is, tells you a little bit about the history about it, so you can kind of learn. So very cool place to go play.
No free ads, but the good guys, for those of you who have never seen it, they do play a full round there. And it's, if you want to check out the course live views and everything like that, it's on YouTube. But yeah, you're right. They have like 3 holes from Augusta. They have a hole from like Bay Hill. They have a hole, like all the fame, like Oakmont. They probably even have one from Hilton Head, Brendan.
They could.
I hope they
imagine that. Imagine that lighthouse in 2 places. Oh my God, Brian would go insane.
Dude, I'm livid. I just picked up this book today, 50 Places to Play Golf Before You Die, and I'm looking, and it has like by state and country, and I went down to South Carolina, and guess what the only one that is listed is
Harbortown Golf Links, baby.
Yeah, that stinks. I was looking to see if there was anything in Louisiana, but
probably not.
Didn't make the top 50, but yeah. So so for anyone visiting Louisiana, Eric, where would you recommend? What's your favorite course? What's a good course for people to come and play?
Well, my home course is called Grand Ridge, and it's a cool little place. I would definitely suggest that you come there because I just love it. I've been playing it, like I said, since I was a teenager. But it's a tough course. It's very, very tight. It's like throwing a hot dog down a hallway. There's cypress trees all the way down. There's houses on the side of the cypress trees. So if you don't hit it straight, you're gonna catch hell trying to play from the trees. But if you do hit it straight,
so that's where I'll be.
Yeah, so if you do hit it straight, you can actually score pretty good there because it's not very challenging. It's a good course. It's fun. But about 15, 20 minutes down the road from my house is TPC, Louisiana. It's where the Zurich Classic is held.
I want to go to that tournament. That's a tournament that I've always
It's a very
to.
cool. It's like it's not like the Waste Management where it's a big party, but to me it seems like it's a lot more kind of that atmosphere because it's a team event. Everybody's kind of having a good time. It has that New Orleans theme, so there's tons and tons of New Orleans food and chefs that are there, so you can go and get like char grilled oysters and crawfish étouffée and all kind of cool stuff like that. So even if you were just there as a like a tourist, like visiting, you can really get the New Orleans experience at the golf course. So the course is beautiful. It's awesome. Lots of wildlife, lots of alligators, but it's a cool spot. That would be
out.
Yeah, that's somewhere that I would take people if they were here for sure.
Dinosaurs, not alligators. Dinosaurs.
Exactly. They are.
Also, the MFK we should have done was gumbo, jambalaya, etouffee. I didn't even think of etouffee until you brought it up. That would have been that's a 3 right there. That I feel like that's like a New Orleans like staple is etouffee. I've had it there a couple times.
Yeah, I think I would have to marry the gumbo because it's coming home with me.
Yep.
I would definitely have to F the jambalaya only because it's warm and saucy. And
it would feel great.
And the étouffée is
we out on the etouffee. We out.
Now, I love étouffée, but out of those 3, gotta go. So you heard it here first, folks.
Man. The F and the jambalaya because it's warm.
I mean, it's almost as bad as French toast. You know.
Oh man. Oh God. Good thing Brian's looking at the book right now.
Yeah, I know, right?
Trying to not get all hot and bothered over here.
There you
go. Oh my God, that's so funny. All right, this is a weird, non-related golf question for you, Eric. I want you to imagine a smell. There's a ton of smells. We live in a world of smells. What is a smell that is not traditionally known to be a good smell? Almost to many, maybe a hated smell. But what's a smell that is not known to be a like smell, but you secretly like?
Either gasoline or propane.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. And I think mostly the propane because we do a lot of boils. So that sound and that smell just kind of correlates to the other
hear the
crawfish balls and stuff like that. But I don't know what it is about gasoline, but a lot of people think that it's very strong and pungent, but I don't know. I kind of like it. If I'm pumping my gas and I smell it, it doesn't bother me at all. It's weird. Absolutely. And I've never thought about that too much until you just said that. So interesting. Thanks for bringing that up.
No, just wait. They get weirder. They get weirder.
Oh, perfect. Bring it on. I'm ready.
Eric's going to spend the rest of his night in his garage just sniffing gasoline and propane.
What's going to happen is I'm going to go to bed later on. I'm not going to be able to go to sleep because y'all idiots got my head going to be spinning thinking about all these random shits. I'm like, did I really say that out loud? Do I really like the smell of gasoline? What the hell is wrong with me?
Right. It's on tape.
Yeah, Eric, sir, please. The correct vernacular up here in New England is chooch.
Yeah, chooch. A bunch of chooches. Is it chooches or
it's chooch.
What's the plural?
The plural is chooches.
So chooch and chong or cheech and chong?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Chooches and chuchitas.
Gotcha. We do have chuchita. When you call you don't call the girl a chuchita though. They get quite upset. So
yes. Gotcha. I'll refrain.
So you just kind of, just wave, just nod and wave.
Yep. You said you like to know like random facts, Eric. I learned this the other day. Propane actually doesn't have a smell. We
put sulfur in it.
Yeah, it's mercaptan.
Mercaptan. Methyl mercaptan.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, and same thing with a lot of natural gases. Industry is really big around here. I don't work in a refinery, but I work in a chemical plant. So there's lots of those fuels that we use, and it's kind of the same thing. They purposely put sulfur or some things like mercaptans that are in there that are very pungent, very strong, so that if there is a gas leak, it's actually going to save your life. So
It's for all the chooches. Get the chooches out of the refinery.
They got some couillons out there, so they're gonna need to know if there's a gas leak.
Yeah, it's couillon proof.
Yeah,
exactly.
My apologies. I went into that thinking I was saying a fact, but basically I was telling Tiger Woods how to play golf.
Well, no, I wasn't trying to steal your thunder. I was just
no.
Sorry about that.
No, that's you explained it way better than I could have. That's for sure. All right, this last question, this one will cause a little bit of debate. It always has. The answers are 50-50. You know, some people go one way, some people lean the other way. Do you think a cake would be more offended to be called a pie, or would a pie be more offended to be called a cake?
I think a cake would definitely be more offended to be called a pie, for sure, because cakes rule the world and pies, I'd rather the cake.
I love it. It's so strong.
Yeah. What is the consensus here? I feel like somebody's being quiet.
Oh, don't do it.
Oh, am I opening a can of worms? Am I about to get kicked off the podcast?
No, don't do it.
No, you're not about to be kicked off the podcast. You're about to go to the Couillon class. You're about to come to the Chooch Corral and learn and get some learning done on how amazing pies are. What do you think of? What are 3 things that you think of when you think of America? Hot dogs, baseball, and apple pie. And that's the reason why. Because pie.
That's a pretty good argument.
I'm going.
Pies are amazing. Now, what are we doing over there, Brad guy?
I'm boom miking it. Just if you need,
don't boom
you gotta boom mic it. Do you like
we don't have booms.
My makeshift tripod here,
but pods. I mean, not pods. Apple pie is. I mean, and I always go apple pie, but we do. I think the amount of work that goes in to just making a pie absolutely perfect versus putting frosting on a cake. I get it. Everything like that.
What about the frost delays on the course?
We don't. That's a conspiracy. That's a false flag, Brian. You know that. That's a false flag. Okay. The government wants you to think that because, you know, they know that there's good golf out there at that time and they want you to pay more money.
So you're saying frost delays are government drones? Just like birds are government drones?
Birds aren't real. Birds aren't real. Frost delays aren't real. We already talked about this. Was way at the beginning of the pod, sir.
My goodness.
Oh man. Wow. But yes, I am a very big fan of pies. Now we do have some desserts that we have disqualified because they have been brought up. So we have disqualified cheesecake because cheesecake is everyone's favorite dessert and it's amazing. And it's the perfect combination of a pie and a cake. And we disqualified cobbler because we just had no idea what to do with it.
Does that hurt being from down south? The cobbler's out?
No, I'm not a cobbler fan. I do love me some cheesecake, but
okay.
Told you, cheesecake is the absolute perfect combination of pie and cake into one thing. It's amazing.
Yeah, but it does have cake on the end. I'm just saying it's not a pie.
And yeah.
Are you in or out on carrot cake?
I love carrot cake.
See, it's
usually a good answer. That's a good answer.
Love carrot
and
cake.
The fact it just doesn't taste like carrots at all. It's fantastic.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, but it's always got the cute little carrot on it.
It does that is always the funniest part is with the little frosting they do put the cute little carrot on top. They're like, how do you know it's a carrot cake? Look for the frosting.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh shit, that's so funny.
Oh man. Well, Eric, Mr. HeyErock himself, you brought us for sure to the Couillon classroom tonight. We learned so much about southeastern Louisiana. I wish we'll definitely have to be back in the Couillon classroom sooner or later because I am sure, besides you loving the alligators, I think we're on the same brain. I think we're on the same wave path with that. And of course, you liking cake over pie. But everyone has their like what you said before. Everyone's got their flaws. We're not going to agree on everything.
Exactly.
But we do agree that cheesecake's amazing. So that's all that matters.
That's true. Very true.
Everyone, please go.
Is dismissed. Couillon classroom is dismissed.
Everyone, please go download, rate, subscribe to the HeyErock and the Couillon Classroom podcast. I will say it is absolutely fantastic. If you are a golf fan, I would say you guys have probably 4 or 5, just at least just straight golf episodes, which is great.
Yeah, we have a few. Yep.
The one about Orlando was fantastic, where you're like, I played golf. The wife and kids went to Disney World.
Yeah,
it was wonderful.
Yep, definitely.
That was great too. But anything, Eric, anything else you would like to shout out before we say our goodbyes here?
Yeah, and then check me out on HeyErock on TikTok. That's my main source of happiness. So just come by and say hi. But yeah, appreciate it. Thanks you guys for having me on. This was a blast. I thought it was awesome that you guys kind of welcomed me in, and it was such that little camaraderie there. I felt like I was in my own podcast with all of my buddies. So thanks for making me feel welcome. I definitely appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Eric. We appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man.